deep state will go down in history as one of the biggest frauds to manipulate economies, suppress dissent, and push mandated medicine. Explain to us what you mean by that and tell us why you feel that way.
Well, look, first of all, the fundamental issue here is that when you look at the immune system of the body was designed over billions of years to take a hit and get more resilient. And so when I'm talking about using this coronavirus, using it as a vehicle to promote fear, so much fear that people have forgotten a fundamental issue here in science. It's a scientific fact that the people that will get attacked or will get harmed and suffer injuries or fatalities is not because of the virus. We have 380 trillion viruses inside of us. There's tons of viruses outside of us. We have 60 trillion bacteria. We're a walking germ factory, Christina, all of us. We grew up in germs. We came out of germs. The reality is when you compromise the immune system, and we'll talk about AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, when you destroy the immune system with eating all sorts of horrible things, chemicals, some of it can be genetic, but a lot of it is epigenetic. When you destroy the immune system, what you fundamentally do is you open your body that the body is not able to modulate its immune system. And what is the immune system? The immune system is a fundamental operating system of our body. And when you compromise that, you create a situation where a pathogen that your body overreacts. So think about it this way. You have 2 arms and 2 legs. Now imagine I tied 2 of your, and I handcuffed you, and I only gave you your 2 legs to fight with, where you're going to, if an attacker comes to you, you're going to go flail at them like crazy to protect yourself. Well, that's what happens when you destroy, let's say, the innate and the adaptive, two parts of a very complex immune system. High sugar diets, you know what you do? You destroy your macrophages through gliotoxins. You destroy your T cells, and the body overreacts because you've handcuffed itself with the cytokine storm. And it's not, so your own body goes and not only tries to take out the viral proteins, but it also goes attacks parts of your body where those viral proteins tend to go to. In the case of coronavirus, to the epithelial cells. That's what's going on. The reality is that when I put out that tweet, I was looking at this as a scientist. I was saying this is extraordinary, because the reality is that that fear-mongering is intended to destroy the economy, which is what we've seen. 17 million people now have filed unemployment claims. We've seen it as a vehicle to destroy dissent, right? We had, if you go look all over the world prior to this, people have forgotten very quickly. There was protests in Hong Kong, protests in Wuhan 6 months ago, protests in France. We had 2 very populist leaders get elected, 3. Boris Johnson, right? You had Narendra Modi get reelected, and Donald Trump. There's a massive anti-establishment movement taking place across the world, and it's against the forces of people like Bill Gates, people like Zuckerberg, people like Hillary Clinton, people like the WHO, CDC, and the Chinese Communist Party, people who think that they know better than you and I. The reason my parents left India was there was a thing called a caste system, where there was a small set of people thinking they knew better and all of us were nothing. And those people have not gone away. And they're not going to stop truth or freedom or health as long as I'm around, because I was fortunately educated by their system. I know how they operate. I know all their weaknesses. And one of the things I've learned is that the consolidation of the scientific establishment, the consolidation of big pharma, is creating a fascist environment in this world. And there's no other path that we have but to fight for our freedom. And that comes with going back to truth. And the truth is that email was invented by a 14-year-old kid. The truth is that the immune system is not so weak. And the truth is that health emerges decentralized. It's not going to be Chinese Communist Party top-down, a bunch of people telling you and I what vaccines we should take. Health comes when you have a relationship with your healthcare practitioner, and out of that emerges health. That's where health comes from, because one size does not fit all. Your body, Christina, is different than my body. The nutrients you need are different than mine. That's what I learned growing up in India from my grandmother. Right medicine for the right person at the right time. And in fact, that is what the modern science of systems biology shows. Francis Collins at the NIH know this, but he chooses not to experience this because he and Fauci are all part of Big Pharma. They are basically agents of Big Pharma. And the Fire Fauci campaign is not just about him, but it's to send a signal that we must take back science, because science was supposed to be a noble service to humanity to expose the truth. And this guy isn't. He's literally Emperor Fauci. And it's time that he leaves or he be fired. And it's time that Donald Trump realize that he should not let a gun be put to his head, because these guys will come again 6 months from now. And at that time, they'll say, you know what? You want the economy to shut down? We better mandate vaccines. Let's give everyone immunity cards. That's where this is headed. And the fact that we've even gotten to the state shows that we must rise up right now. And the fake news media, which dare attack the fact that I invented email, which dare in fact diminish all the hard work I did as an American working class kid earning my degrees. I didn't, like Elizabeth Warren, lie to get into Harvard. I actually earned everything I have. So, to hell with them.
Okay. All right, we are going to touch on the Dr. Fauci petition, the Fire Dr. Fauci petition, a little bit later in the show. But first I want to talk on what you just mentioned, the fake news media. You've seen the coronavirus briefings. Nearly all of the reporters are so focused on attacking President Donald Trump. In addition, all the mainstream media headlines, right? They push fear and doom and gloom. I want to put up another social media post that you posted out. It says the fake news colludes with fake science to create fake problems, fake solutions, fake history to drive us into slavery and fascism. You just talked about this a little bit, but why is the mainstream media so advantageous in pushing the coronavirus agenda?
Very, very simple. You have to understand that the entire publishing industry, the entire medical establishment industry, the entire big pharma industry, they all hang out in the same circles, Christina. They're one. And the reason is they do not want any attacks on them. I'm attacking the fake news media. I'm attacking the scientific establishment, and they will stick together. And that's why it's time that we, the people, rise up and recognize these people aren't disparate entities. They communicate together. They must disparage people who talk about real science. They must disparage truth, because everything they do is based on lies. It's based on this top-down model. If anything, they want to bring made in China to America. They want to export China everywhere. That's what this is about. And fundamentally, the fake news media is made up of people who owe money, they owe service to big pharma, big vaccines, and that's what they're about. They all hang out in the same circles. Come on. Jeffrey Epstein was probably among them. Weinstein was all part of them. The president of MIT took money from Jeffrey Epstein after he knew he was convicted. Same did the president of Harvard. So we're talking about is a set of people who are one small family, and they believe that they're going to control our lives. It wasn't sufficient that they lost the Revolutionary War and they had to, go back to England or whatever. They lost their monarchies. These people fundamentally think they know better. And that's what Bill Gates is about. And that's what Hillary Clinton is about. Both of them. And you have to understand, we also have to be aware of the not so obvious establishment, like people like Bobby Kennedy, who on the one hand attacks Bill Gates, but he doesn't say anything about Hillary Clinton. And so we have to understand who our leaders are going to be. Are they going to be top-down people, or are they going to be bottoms-up people like myself and you and others? We need a bottoms-up movement. No more Kennedys, no more Gateses, no more Bernie Sanders who sell out people. It's about a bottoms-up revolutionary movement that we need to win, and we're talking about freedom versus slavery. That's what this is about.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Bill Gates, right? You have said that the coronavirus was a well-executed plan by Bill Gates. Today, Gates slammed President Trump for suspending funding to the WHO. He said that the world needs, this is what Bill Gates said, the WHO now more than ever. This is in response to President Trump suspending that funding. He also said no one can replace the WHO in slowing the spread of the coronavirus, and this is as dangerous as it sounds. Those are quotes from Bill Gates.
2 minutes left.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, look, you just need to understand that Bill Gates is a fake innovator. He didn't build DOS. His mama and papa helped him find it from someone else and sell it. His entire career has been based on the inside. He knows nothing about biological sciences. What he thinks, he's trying to create a legacy where he literally took money that was tax dollars and put it into a foundation, and he thinks top down, him and his wife are going to tell us what to do. Bill Gates, fundamentally, he created Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Him and Hillary Clinton worked on that together. The WHO is part of that. And if you look at the WHO's SDG 3 goals, Sustainable Development Goals, it's to create this fake utopia and say that the way we're going to get to that utopia, a land of no poverty, income inequality, all this stuff, top-down model, is going to come from vaccinating everyone. The IA 2030 report. And he's a critical element of it. He's a neo-missionary. He thinks he's going to help all the dark people of the world by him coming and swooping in and giving everyone GMOs and vaccines. This guy is a criminal, just like Fauci. They all work together. And by the way, I believe Fauci sits on his board, on his leadership council. So all these people need to talk about all the incestuous things that they do. And fundamentally, if they cared about public health, really cared about it, let's talk about why we have such high levels of obesity in the United States. Let's talk about why we have medical errors. Let's talk about why we have 1.9 million hospitalizations from pharmaceuticals. Let's talk about those adverse reactions. They don't give a damn about public health. What they care about is power, profit, and control. If they cared about public health, we would be talking about vitamin D, vitamin A, and all of these guys, Bill Gates would be saying, oh my God, let's give those people on crisis who are about to be put on ventilators a death sentence. Why don't we give them high-dose vitamin C? He's not talking about that because they don't want vitamins to compete with vaccines. They don't want vitamins to compete with ventilators. That's what this is about. And it's time we destroy the medical establishment. They do not serve humanity. They serve themselves. And MDs listening out there, you guys are hostages. You know it. You guys get abused every day. You guys have Stockholm syndrome. And many MDs, a lot of wonderful people went into medicine with the noble service. But you know what? They got golden handcuffs. And now they actually don't have that many golden handcuffs. They're realizing with the coronavirus, they're actually being made no different than the frontline medical workers who get treated like dirt. So it's time that people recognize these people don't give a damn about public health. Because if they did, we would have clean air, clean water, clean food. The United States has a D+ in infrastructure. Massachusetts has an F- in infrastructure. We have one uniparty here. The Mass GOP establishment does not want me there. They work together with the Democratic Party. Massachusetts got an F-, Christina, in infrastructure.
Wow.
Horrible roads, horrible bridges, horrible water systems. And they got a D+ in corruption, the worst in corruption. That's what MIT and Harvard have delivered, which are the centers of the deep state. And that's why my winning the U.S. Senate seat, it's not about me. It's for every working person that we're going to take back freedom. We're going to take back truth. We're going to take back health, which is what our campaign is about at Shiva for Senate. You know, that's what we've built. And bottoms up, our movement is building people, not only everyday working people. We have so many mothers who are coming out because they don't want their kids to be forced vaccine mandated. They want to have choice. That's what our movement is bringing up.
Well, and I want to talk about that movement and how people can get involved with it a little bit later in the show. But first, I want to show you this headline from the New York Times. It was just published. It says in big letters, New York City death toll soars past 10,000 in revised coronavirus count. And then a little bit lower in smaller letters, it says the city has added more than 3,700 additional people who were presumed to have died of the coronavirus but had never tested positive. Okay, so the number one question that I'm hearing from people who are flooding me with emails and calls is, why are they attributing all deaths to coronavirus? Now, we touched on the codes a little bit in our last discussion, but people want to know, why would the doctors, these medical doctors that they trust, the health departments that they trust, why would they do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, you know, this is, if you look at the entire health establishment, if you look at the entire healthcare system, remember it's top down. In 2000, there was a Safe Harbor Act around that period, which got passed, you know, plus or minus some years, which really allowed GPOs and PBMs to give kickbacks to hospital administrators. Who were GPOs and PBMs? People should go research them. Group purchasing organizations and PBMs on the pharmaceutical side into pharmacies. These are middlemen, Christina. The middlemen really crank up the cost of every hospital supply that goes into a hospital. They mark it up by 5, 10, 10,000 times. They are motivated to always put everything into a code and everything to go through their supply chain. So you have massive corruption in the healthcare system. The Safe Harbor Act needs to be reversed. So fundamentally, what you have happening is there is an incentive to brand people COVID-19. There is an incentive to put more people on these ventilators. But one of the critical things we need to understand is that one of the data that people need to also see, that I've seen, is that the number of, you know, we're still in the flu season, has gone down concomitantly as these numbers have gone up. And as you know, there's enough reports out there, people can listen to others, that there's an incentive for people to brand people as COVID-19. And moreover, they're using a PCR, you know, a DNA polymerase chain reaction experiment, which is highly, highly dubious. Even the guy who created it said it's a qualitative test. It's not even a definitive test. So you have cooking of the books. Remember, the WHO, Tedros's group, is the one who created the two codes, the COVID positive, and then they created another code, which said, well, sort of looks like and feels like COVID-19. So they're putting everyone into that because New York, let's be honest, you have Andrew Cuomo there. Andrew Cuomo really doesn't care for President Trump. The other piece you have there is you have a high preponderance, in Houston, for example, high preponderance of African Americans are getting this. And it's not because they're black, it's because the black community historically has been abused by the Democratic Party and the establishment because they were never given infrastructure. Their health is ruined in many, many ways. They preponderance have a high level of more immunocompromised people than everyday white people. But this has happened by organization. So if we want to really talk about those 10,000 numbers, why don't the hospitals release? I want to see, they don't have to give the people's names, their medical histories. What was their pre-existing conditions? How old were they? Let's talk about diabetes and high blood pressure. Let them do that. Let's put it up on the cloud so we can all see it. We have that data. Let Andrew Cuomo do that. But he's not going to do that because this entire crisis about saying this virus is going to kill all of us and destroy all of us is really a pretext for mandated vaccines, for mandated top-down medicine. That's what it's about. That's what this entire thing is about because Big Pharma is losing. If you look at their business model, Christina, they're not making any money through their traditional pharmaceutical drugs. People are starting to, look at vitamins. People want to eat better. So pharmaceutical drug manufacturing, their entire business model is blowing up in front of them. Literally, because you can sue a pharmaceutical drug company. It's $5 billion to make a drug. It's high cost. Look at what happened to Sanofi. Diabetes drug, their cardiovascular drugs are losing money. So they need a new territory. Well, you know what that is? It's vaccines. Why? No liability at all. Ted Kennedy, forced through a law which basically created the vaccine courts. You and I, if your children gets hurt, we can't sue the vaccine manufacturers. We can pharma, but we can't them. So low risk, no liability, and high profit. That's what Bill Gates, that's what Chan Zuckerberg, and that's what the corrupt Hillary Clinton want. They want to be part of this clique who they all hang around. They all go to the same parties. This is an aristocratic clique. That's what we're talking about. And they don't give a damn about you and I. They don't give a damn about public health. Nothing. Because if they did, why would they let Monsanto and these companies destroy the soil of Africa and India and most of the countries on the planet and destroy American people's health? That's what they've done. That's why 54% of the kids in America have autoimmune disorders. 1 out of 5 kids has some type of mental disorder. That's what they've delivered us. What Anthony Fauci has delivered us? In the Western world, we have a country with the highest infant mortality rate and the lowest longevity rate. How dare that he stand up there and talk about public health? He knows nothing about public health.
Well, let's talk about Fauci. You mentioned it not too long ago in the discussion, that petition that you started, Fire Fauci. It has more than 70,000 signatures.
75,000, yeah.
75 now?
Yeah.
More than 3,000 of those are from medical doctors. You've been very vocal. You've been very brave when talking about Fauci. You continue to do it today, yet still people are saying that we need to listen to the experts. We need to listen to Dr. Fauci. He is the expert. What is your response to them in terms of why we shouldn't listen to Fauci and the so-called experts who have been wrong on every single model they put out there on the coronavirus?
Well, if Mr. Fauci is an expert, let him explain the deterioration of health in this country. Why is it obesity rates increase? Why is the FDA... Why is the FDA, let him talk about this, why is the FDA saying that jams and jellies have to have 40% sugar in it to be characterized as jams and jellies? Let him talk about why we have seen massive amounts of hospital deaths, that 440,000. Let him talk about what drugs do, what the adverse reactions they cause. But he won't talk about that because this guy is not an expert. What he is, he's a bureaucrat. He represents where academia has gone, where the scientific establishment has gone. It supports and it encourages and it creates bureaucrats like him, little fascists. That's what it creates. And he's able to manipulate presidents because many of them do not understand science. Many of them did not learn math and engineering anymore. Remember, when the founders of this country, Washington actually knew what sine and cosine meant. He was a surveyor. Jefferson built beautiful buildings. And Franklin actually knew engineering. But our presidents and our politicians know jack about any of this. 70% are lawyer lobbyists. That's why a guy like him is able to bamboozle people. He's the one who convinced everyone that HIV creates AIDS. And I'll debate anyone. You know what you should do, Christina? Call every one of those scientists. They can bring all of them, and it'll be me, and perhaps Peter Duesberg will join me. And we can take every one of them on, and we can show them that the lie that they created to create the AIDS industry, and that's what they're trying to do. They have an idiot like Lady Gaga who's now supporting Gavi. Okay? They and you know, when I was out in Hollywood, they used to call him star. You know, you can put the word F whatever. Okay? That's what these people are. They work with the prostitution model of Hollywood, with the prostitution model of academia, and that's who works together. It's not about science. In fact, there's some great actors, very few of them left in Hollywood, but they diminish them. It's about celebrityhood. It's about academia. It's not about science or craft anymore. So what Fauci represents is he represents the utmost of corruption. That's what he represents. He represents a guy who's wheedled his way through by lying and creating fake science. And he thinks he's going to get away with it. Well, I challenge him to any debate to prove to me why he thinks that this virus and another virus, the next one that's coming along, is going to damage the immune system. And what is he going to do about boosting people's immune system? Why doesn't he talk about vitamin D? Has he ever heard of cathelicidins? Maybe he hasn't. Why doesn't he talk about vitamin A and cytokeratins? Why doesn't he talk about vitamin C? Why doesn't he talk about the GAPDH receptors? Let's talk to him, or those molecules that get created in the cytokine storm. Let's have a scientific discussion, he and I, open, public.
And we could do that. This will be a public invite to Dr. Fauci to come onto this show and debate you on these issues. We will host both of you here. I know our viewers will be highly interested in that.
And people deserve that.
A lot of our viewers, a lot of people out there have actually grown tired of this. Things have been happening over the last week. Protests in Ohio, North Carolina, Vancouver, Berlin. Today there's protesters in Michigan. I've seen the word revolution popping up everywhere. People are tired. They want to reopen the economy. They're not buying into the virus fear yet. Experts keep pushing social distancing. Fauci just said that when the country eventually reopens, we're not going to have fans in the stands at major sporting events. Then Bill Gates, which you touched on a little bit earlier, he said this recently on the Ellen DeGeneres show. Take a listen.
And then, with luck, in early June, if the whole country does a better job of shutting down and we get prioritization of the testing that's going on, what policies should we have? Because until we get almost everybody vaccinated globally, we still won't be fully back to normal.
Okay, Dr. Shiva, you just talked about this, about the global vaccinations that they want to have, mandated, then the social distancing. How dangerous will this be if the social distancing lasts? In Fauci's terms, he wants it to last forever, to our country or people, and then saying that we're going to have to shut down until global vaccinations happen.
Well, look, you know what Bill Gates should do? Why doesn't he shut down everything he does? Why doesn't he take all his money and devolve it out to people who are suffering right now? Why doesn't he do that? Let him put his money where his mouth is, because if he believes that we should shut it down, why doesn't he shut down the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Why doesn't he take all of his money and do that? Let him talk about that. But he won't, because he doesn't give a damn about the American working people. He doesn't give a damn about crashing this economy, because that's part of the goal. The part of the deep state goal is to force the government, force Trump, force the economic policy people to backfill in. And by the way, this comes from a senior person who called me up. I can't tell his name, but a senior economist very close to the White House said, Shiva, Fauci is destroying the economy. Please keep doing your videos. All right?
Wow.
Exactly. This is 3 weeks. Why do you think I've been doing my videos? Because he said, Shiva, we are being told to backfill in economic policy by health policy leading it. That's why this came from somewhere, which I can't talk about. So I'm doing this as a noble service, putting myself out there, because the bottom line is the economists are being told to print money. 6 trillion has been printed to save this country. The reality is what it's doing is it's going to be the biggest transfer of wealth to, again, more elite people. China will take a lot of those reserve dollars, and as this economy tanks, they'll buy more U.S. assets like they did AMC theaters, etc.
Yes.
So this is entirely a model. Bill Gates, let's find out where all his homes are. Let's understand how much land his foundation has brought, perhaps in Africa. This entire model is about a global set of elites like this guy who knows nothing about the biological sciences, didn't grow up in working class neighborhoods, doesn't understand what it means to be a working person, him thinking he knows better. And I'll challenge him too. Let he and I have a conversation about the immune system. Let him come here and defend himself. Let's talk science. Let's not talk nonsense. Let's talk science. Bill Gates and Fauci, Francis Collins, I'll take all three of them on. And they won't be able to defend themselves because the fundamental issues, the truth will come out that what they're really about is promoting an agenda. It's about propaganda. It's about fear-mongering people. And it's about fear-mongering particularly the vulnerable educated elites. Because you know what the good news is though? The plumber, the electrician, working people who actually work with their hands know this is all BS. And that's why they're going to uprise, and maybe we should have a good revolution in this country. Maybe it's about time that we put an end to this hegemony of a small set of people. And by the way, most of those people, the epicenter of them is between the 1 mile radius between MIT and Harvard. The epicenter of the deep state is right over there. And I know where it is, and I've known it since I came here in 1981. Fortunately, I've learned all of how they operate, and I know all their weaknesses, and it's time that that establishment be smashed because they do not serve the interests of working people at all. They serve the interests of people like Weinstein and Epstein. In fact, they gave him parties, and they supported him. They took his money.
And you're doing a great job here calling them out. Final question here. After our last discussion, a lot of our viewers had questions about your statement that HIV does not cause AIDS. Can you explain that statement to our viewers?
Yeah, it's very, very important people understand this, okay? Tens of millions of people, 60, you can look at the percentage. I haven't looked at it. A large proportion of people in Zambia, for example, have HIV. HIV is a virus, okay? It's not like a small little virus. It appears in many, many bodies. Lots of Africans have it. We don't have epidemics of people dying. The reality is, getting back to this point, if you go look at it, Peter Duesberg, everyone should look at Peter's work. Peter was one of the earliest members to the National Academy of Science, I think if not the youngest. He was one of the earliest tenured professors at Berkeley. Peter was an eminent guy. He was a discoverer of the oncogene. When the HIV/AIDS causality, remember, these guys are always trying to tie some little microbe. It's like a district attorney always trying to find some criminal, okay? Trying to associate always a virus or a bacteria with a crime, right? In this case, AIDS. Well, what is AIDS? AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It's when your T cell count in your body goes below a certain level. Well, when you look at the first set of AIDS cases that came, and Peter Duesberg and others were the first to point this out, well, it turns out a preponderance of them, 80, 90% of them were gays who were taking amyl nitrates. And remember, it was a time in American history where there was lots and lots of drugs, people partying all night. One gay guy would have maybe 1,500 lovers. Okay, and this is not politically incorrect. It was a fact. Lots of partying, people were compromising their immune system. Amyl nitrates, nearly 200 papers written showing how it compromises the immune system. The second group of people who were getting blood transfusions, well, it's not the blood, it's the fact that they were getting immunosuppressive drugs. And the third group of people were, heavy IV drug users, okay? Those three groups of people destroy their immune systems. Well, they go find this virus, HIV. By the way, many of those people had many other viruses. And the CDC, at that time at least, even now, doesn't keep great data. So they associated, this virus goes with this. And Robert Gallo, the guy who did enormous amount of scientific misconduct at the time, and people can go look at his name, he created the HIV test. He's the one who stole data from the French. And guess who came to his rescue? Fauci. Fauci came to his rescue. Gallo went into the back end, and then Fauci came up on the forefront promoting the HIV causality with AIDS. Again, let's debate this. Let's call all the scientists together. Let's have a discussion about, does HIV cause AIDS? There's a set of postulates called Koch's postulates. Kochs. What is Koch's postulates? Koch's postulates was designed around the time by Robert Koch at the time of the germ theory. And Koch's postulates basically say that in order to say that this virus or this bacteria causes this disease, Christina, you have to show at least four things. One, you have to find an abundance, not a little bit, but an abundance of that virus in the host where the disease is, okay? Step one. Step two, you have to be able to culture that virus in a petri dish. And then third, you have to inject it into another, let's say, animal, and it should get the exact same symptoms as the other one, as the original. And then you should be able to culture it back. Well, they haven't been able to do this with the HIV/AIDS stuff. And in fact, if you look at many of these diseases, they haven't been able to do it. They tried, it's called virus hunters. After polio, after the big polio vaccine came, right, and went, all these virus hunters were looking for a new job. And then what they did, they said, oh, viruses also cause cancer, retroviruses. And the leader, one of the founders of that was Peter Duesberg, oncogenes. He's a guy who discovered a retrovirus, but he even said this is nonsense, okay? So what you have is you have virus hunters, bacteria hunters, like district attorneys who want to pin every crime on somebody, even though they may not have done that crime. And that's what big pharma, big vaccines want to do. So it's fear-based medicine. And it ignores the fact, completely ignores the fact we're surrounded by viruses. We're surrounded by viruses. I mean, I'm getting emails from people saying, hey, I haven't seen my boyfriend in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I have a very, very close friend of mine. His wife just went into major depression. 40 years. You know why? She can't go out with her friends. She can't play, her bridge game. She's in severe depression. It's awful. And you know what really hurts people? You know what hurts people's immune system more than a freaking virus? It's social isolation. And that's been a lot of work. 1988 landmark study, a famous paper written showing that when you socially isolate people, you destroy their immune systems. You lower their antiviral activity. You increase inflammatory compounds. So let me just repeat, with all due respect to all of these people, they may be nice people, they all have families, but they don't give a damn about public health. They've sold out to the devil, and that devil is big pharma. That devil is top-down establishment model of how the world should exist. China, right? China believes that the enlightened few will run their whole country like a factory. This is why in China, the everyday people in China have been running huge protests under threat of life against pollution. Well, why is China so polluted? Because the Paris Accords, based on fake science that CO2 is a pollutant, allows China to pollute. Let me repeat, to all you liberals listening out there who care about, all your little nice gardens and meditating in New Age, which, I like meditating, but you know what? The Paris Accords has nothing to do with lowering pollution. It encourages China, which pollutes 11 billion carbon metric tons, to go up to 22 billion. That's not healthy. And people in China have been fighting for their health. They've been out on the streets protesting, including in Wuhan. They had fights with police, and that was 6 months before. And now we don't hear anything about Wuhan. We don't hear anything about Hong Kong. So everyone, you're listening, you know what? Truth is going to win here, and people need to start using their common sense. We wouldn't be here, 7.2 billion people. I don't care if it's bioweapons or this. Our body has a very strong immune system. Feed it. Vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin C. And you know what? Above all of that, connections with people, love, understanding, fellowship, laughter. This is why the number one source that people live long, people who smoke, a little bit overweight, the number one reason, because they had social connections, social relationships. Number two was they did some type of exercise. Number three was they all drank a local fermented drink. And those local fermented drinks support the microbiome, which is your gut bacteria, which is very important for immune health.
Okay, one last thing here. I got to get this in quickly. How can people support you in your run for Senate?
Everyone listening out there, our run for U.S. Senate in Massachusetts is going to be one of the most important elections for the world. It's because one of you is running, me, okay, for you. And what I mean by that, if you go to shivaforsenate.com and you go to our website, you'll see it says Truth, Freedom, Health. And it says revolution, a revolution for truth, freedom, and health. And it's saying that without freedom, we don't have truth. Without truth, we don't get health. And without health, we don't get freedom. Freedom to debate, discuss. That's why I'm inviting these guys to have a discourse. Let's talk about science, because with real science, we'll get to truth. And with real truth, we'll find real solutions for our body. And that's when we build strong system. That's what our campaign's about. Everyone should go there, click on that donate button. But when you click on that donate button, you're not donating to me. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you a book. I'm going to give you Your Body, Your System, a tool that'll teach you how your body's a system. And we had it, I think, priced up there for like for $25. If people can't afford that, give 5 or 10. And if you can't afford that, write to me, vashiva@vashiva.com. V as in Victor, A Shiva, and tell me what your economic situation, and we'll give you a full scholarship. But that's what our campaign's about. And if people scroll down, Christina, we must get on the ballot. The establishment, GOP establishment, which is one, Charlie Baker, who's a Republican, is running 3 lawyers. He's got another lawyer he threw in, so I wouldn't get the GOP nomination. And then I'm running against 2 other lawyers, Joe Kennedy and Ed Malarkey. Okay? So it's a working class guy who actually creates against 3 doofuses, 3 lawyers by the establishment. So if people go to Shiva for Senate and they scroll down, you will see a thing that says Get Shiva on the ballot. Click on that and fill in your name, and we will send you out nomination papers. You got to get this out to everyone, Christina. We'll send you out those nomination papers. Fill them out. You have to be in Massachusetts. So everyone listening, if you know someone in Massachusetts, call them up right now. Tell them, hey, go to Shiva for Senate, scroll down, fill out that ballot, and we'll send you out the nomination papers. We need probably another 5,000 to 7,000 more signatures. Our amazing volunteers are on the ground collecting, Christina. Now the governor has sent out police to stop us, even though we're not violating any rules. That's the fascism that's taking place. But we need everyone to watch and support this campaign because it is your campaign. We need to take back this country, for that matter, the world, from those people who think they know better than you and I. We don't, we need, because they think they're running the new kingdoms. And it's time we delivered them a massive, massive defeat. And my winning here will be our winning. ShivaForSenate.com.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Shiva, for all of your insight today. It was great to see you again.
Thank you. Be well. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Christina. We had a great talk with Christina here.
Yes, it was a great talk.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, well, President Trump made the decision to suspend funding to the WHO, but he is facing some backlash.
So hi, everyone listening out there. This is Dr. Shiva. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did just finished an interview with America Voices, an interview, by the way, which went out to 9 million people, and an interview people were so upset by, particularly the mainstream establishment. They tried to start calling me all sorts of names, that I didn't invent email, which I did, and it's so hard for them to accept that, because it's really not about the invention of email, but it's about the fact that it exposes where real innovation comes from. It comes from everyday people like you and me solving actual problems. So anyway, everyone, please go to ShivaForSenate.com. As I just shared with Christina, go up there and go up to that website. Let me just create another screen here before I do this. And everyone should go up there and go to that top part of that website. Donate whatever you can. Remember, I'm here to support everyone in their learning to really understand how the body is a system. So if people go up to Shiva for Senate and they click donate, whatever you can give, but everyone, what I'm offering people right now is there's a tool up there that you can, there's 2 things you get, a wonderful gift, a book which teaches you how the body is actually a system, all the principles of systems. Plus, I also give you this amazing tool that I created called Your Body, Your System. If you can't do the 25, give whatever you can. And as I mentioned, if you are seriously if you have a lot of problems, just email to me, vashiva@vashiva.com, and I'll make sure we can get that out to you and give you a full scholarship. That's number 1. The second thing, as I mentioned, is tell everyone who's your friend in Massachusetts, or if you're in Massachusetts, that they have to go to Shiva for Senate, scroll down, and literally we need another 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. The establishment doesn't want us to get on the ballot. They don't want us even out there collecting signatures with this coronavirus fear-mongering nonsense. What we need you to do is go there, tell your friends, click on that. Your signature will get Dr. Shiva on the ballot. And if they click on there, they just fill out something and we mail it out to them. We mail them right to their doorstep, nomination signatures. They fill it in, send it into their town halls. But anyway, that's what we need people to do. This is your campaign. The revolution is here. It has arrived, and it's time for everyone to join it and win, win, win. We must win this, because this is no longer about whether we want to win or not, but it's really about, everyone in UK, if you want to help, you can go right to Your Body. Anyone outside of this country, I forgot to mention that great question. If you're outside of this country, you can't donate to the campaign, but I want to support you in learning how the body is a system. So anyone outside, you can go directly to yourbodyyoursystem.com, yourbodyyoursystem.com, and you can learn about how your body is a system. You can go right here. You can say, get started now. Anyone who's outside of the country, please take advantage of this. Because if you go here, same thing, you notice we have a special offer. But again, scholarships available for economic distress from 5 to 20. So if you go down here, you can, in fact, if you need a full scholarship, just choose, I think we have $20 and minimum. So you at minimum have to pay $25. And again, if you can't afford that, please email me, vashiva@vashiva.com. Tell me your situation, and I'll give you a full scholarship. This is about service. This is about us winning. This is about us recognizing that there's a finite set of people who think they know better than you and I. This is about us taking back truth, freedom, and health. Anyway, everyone, I appreciate your listening. I appreciate all your wonderful emails and your love and kindness. But let's be the light and be well. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Anyone on Instagram there? Thank you. Be well, everyone. Got to stop here. Stop the streaming here. There we go. Goodbye, people on Facebook.